I walked in and froze. My keys slipped from my hand, clattering against the floor, but neither of us moved. There she was, my ex's mother, sitting on my couch like she belonged there, hands folded in her lap, eyes red and tired. When she looked up at me, her voice trembled as she said, "I needed somewhere to go." And in that moment, I knew my quiet, carefully rebuilt life was about to be turned upside down. If this story pulls at your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next. I hadn't spoken to her in over 2 years. Not since the breakup. Not since her son walked out with a suitcase and promises that never came true. I'd erased his number, boxed up the memories, and convinced myself that chapter was closed. Yet here she was, a living reminder of everything I'd tried so hard to forget. She looked smaller than I remembered. Fragile. Gone was the confident woman who used to host loud family dinners and tease me about stealing her son away. Now she wore a coat that looked too thin for the season, and when she tried to smile, it didn't quite reach her eyes. I asked her what happened, but she hesitated, glancing around my apartment as if checking whether the walls themselves could hear her. Finally, she sighed and told me the truth. She and her husband had separated. The house was being sold. Her son, my ex, had moved away months ago and stopped answering her calls. She had nowhere else to go. Anger flared in my chest, sharp and sudden. Not at her, but at him. The same man who once promised he'd always take care of his family had abandoned his own mother. And somehow, she had ended up on my couch. I wanted to say no. I wanted to protect the fragile peace I'd fought to build. But when I looked at her shaking hands and tired eyes, my heart overruled my fear. I told her she could stay for a few days, just until she figured things out. Those few days turned into weeks. Living together was awkward at first. We danced around each other in the mornings, exchanging polite smiles and careful conversations. But slowly, the walls came down. Over cups of tea late at night, she told me stories I'd never heard. About her youth, her regrets, the mistakes she made raising her son. She admitted she'd seen the breakup coming and said she wished she'd stood up for me more when things went wrong. One night she cried, not quiet tears, but the kind that shake your whole body. I sat beside her, unsure, until she reached for my hand. She told me she felt like she'd failed as a mother, that she was scared of starting over at her age. In that moment, I stopped seeing her as my ex's mother. I saw her as a woman who had lost everything familiar and was terrified of the future. But the past has a way of knocking when you least expect it. He called one evening. I recognized the number instantly. My heart pounded as I answered. His voice was casual, almost annoyed. He wanted to know where his mother was. When I told him she was with me, there was a long silence. Then he said something that made my hands shake. He told me to send her somewhere else. He said he couldn't deal with her problems right now. I hung up without another word. That night I told her about the call. I expected anger or heartbreak, but instead she looked strangely calm. She said maybe this was the push she needed. She didn't want to be anyone's burden anymore. She wanted to stand on her own. The next weeks were different. We worked together. I helped her update her resume. She found a small job at a local library. We searched for apartments and celebrated when she finally signed a lease on a tiny but sunny place of her own. On her last night with me, she hugged me tightly and whispered, "You gave me more kindness than my own son did. I'll never forget that." When she left, my apartment felt quiet again, but not empty. I realized something had shifted inside me. Helping her had healed parts of me I didn't even know were broken. I no longer felt bitter about the past. I felt free. Months later, I heard through mutual friends that my ex regretted everything, that he felt lost. But by then, it didn't matter. His mother and I still talk. She's happy, strong, independent. Sometimes, life brings people back not to reopen wounds, but to help you finally close them. And sometimes, the most unexpected knock on your door leads to the greatest growth of all. If this story touched you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You never know which story might change the way you see your own life.